Hey, what's up guys? I have an over the board game report for you. Now interestingly, here I'm playing Matt Nuns now, and this was another away game at Barnsley, and we played on the 4th of April as well. On the 4th of April, I had the white pieces, Matt had the black pieces, and we had a Pirc defence. In fact, I will show you the way that the game started. Oh, okay, so this is what Matt played against me. So I've got the white pieces here. Knight f6. I bring my bishop out to d3. He fianchettos the bishop, and I castle kingside fairly early. Okay, so just generally remember that. This is just kind of my my standard setup against these slow hypermodern openings like the King's Indian, the modern, the Pirc, right? I find this tends to work for me. It does make life a bit harder for this knight. Now, let's fast forward another 6 weeks or so and go to last night's game, which, so I skipped making a video about last week's because it was just too painful to do. This is not such a bad game. In fact, the other game was okay, but okay, so we have, again, I've got the white pieces, right? So I'm on board 4 for Chesterfield C. Matt's playing for Barnsley B, I think. And again, we have the Pirc defence, D4, Knight F6 again, Bishop D3 again. Why Bishop D3? I mean, it is a book move. I probably want to castle kingside, but the main point is this knight's already attacking the pawn, so I've got a few options. F6, F3, no. Knight C3, well, not if I want to put my pawn there. So that doesn't leave us that many options. Yeah, Queen D3, Queen E2. So I put my bishop there, and I think it's kind of an interesting feature about this game is that it appears as though I put my bishops in wonky, goofy positions. But this is the thing that I'm learning about bishops, is that you don't have to be aggressive with your bishop straight on. Bishops are quite easily kicked around. You know, it's not quite so bad as having a queen out in the board that gets booted all over the park. But you know, bishops can just like be cool. Everybody be cool, you know. Hang back and have, even if there are pawns in the way, the bishop can just like lurk there, right? Okay, so we have g6 from Matt. I bring out bishop number 2 after all that, but generally an idea is, an attacking idea against the kingside fianchettoed bishop is line up the queen, queen and bishop, drop this guy in here when the rook is on f8, and basically force this bishop off the board. And once that bishop's forced off the board, there are weaknesses in these dark squares that you can then maybe try and exploit, h4, h5, something like that. Now, I was already starting to think at this point, should we go for a crazy Harry, a dirty Harry, right? I thought better of that, as you will see. Okay, we have the fianchetto, and now c3. So I'm just building this nice little kind of S-shaped pawn structure. Do like it. Matt now plays h6, which actually the computer says was excellent or best move. I was in two minds, right? Because the problem is that when black castles, the bishop will be the only defender of this. So all I need to do is play queen d2 and maybe win me a pawn. So anyway, here comes my bishop. And you'll have seen me talk before about how these bishops, look where they're pointing. They're pointing at the edges of the board, right? Even backwards, you know, they're not doing anything in terms of where you could move that X right round the board. Where's the king going to be? Well, the king's going to be like here, right? Probably on this square, or he might be on this square. But the point is that these bishops aren't pointing anywhere near that king, but they are bishops, and bishops are special. Now, interestingly, from this position at my level, black wins 50% against 44 for white with a few draws. Most common move here is castles. We have castles. Okay. And now h3 is the most common move, but it's not good because black wins 57, and that is exactly what I play. The most winningest move here is actually knight e2, and I think that might have been the computer's recommendation as well. Okay, but I play h3. Why do I play h3? I want to stop this knight from improving itself, and I want to stop this bishop from coming in. Okay, this bishop, I know what this bishop's role is in this game. It's looking down this diagonal, and what's it doing? It's biting on granite. Got 1, 2, 3 pawns on dark squares, right? This is the whole point of this setup. I want to get a solid center, right? Now, what Matt's playing is a hypermodern opening, which means that he's foregoing the idea of challenging the center in the opening phase of the game and is going to try and break open the center using his pieces and then pawn breaks in the middle game. That's the idea. So this came out I think early 20th century, 1930s and stuff like that. People came up with this idea of you don't have to contest the center straight away, but let's see how it goes. All right. So here on average, black will now play pawn to e5 and win 59% of the time. And that's what we're doing, right? He's saying, I'm now ready to bust open the center. So maybe that would be the best move. Matt doesn't do that. He plays knight c6. And I now play f4. Okay. f4 has only been played twice in this position. Normally, it's queen d2. Why queen d2? Well, you're going to go after the h6 pawn, right? But I know Matt a little bit. We played 6 weeks ago, and he played the Pirc 6 weeks ago. And what happened was then that I took an aggressive approach, spatially aggressive, and he found himself then having to play Twister with himself, like moving knights backwards. You know, he ends up with knights on f8, stuff like that. Really, really cramped. So I thought, let's take a similar approach on this time. So I play f4. And f4 has been played twice. It's got a 50-50 win rate. Okay, so now we have e5. So maybe Matt should have played e5 on the previous move. Okay, now we have a decision to make. And I definitely played through all the scenarios. And I thought, okay, e takes d4. C takes d4. We maintain our central pawn structure. This looks fine, right? E takes f4. I have bishop takes f4. And again, I have my central pawns, and he only has the 1. So in this situation, I thought, this is one of those where actually, then you have to play through, okay, takes, takes, and we're opening up the center. I don't really want the center to be destroyed, you know. I've invested in this center, right? What I want to do is I want to attack up the king side. Notice I haven't castled as well. We're on move 8. I could have completed development by this point, but I've made a bunch of pawn moves. I've made 5 pawn moves out of 8 turns. I also haven't developed my knights. So I play queen d2. I don't want to take here with my d pawn. I didn't see any real benefit to this because I thought takes, I push, we can end up with a closed center. Don't need it. Don't need it. I've got the space advantage. So now Matt takes here. Obviously I recapture with the bishop. And we have now, at least at my level on the Lichess database, a unique position. Matt now plays king to h7. And I think this was the miss, because he's actually better. He's better at this point, and as we saw a few moves ago, that black tends to win at this point with Pirc players who know their onions. Now, why is he playing king h7? Well, he wants to add a second defender to this pawn. Okay. But notice how all his play is on the 6th, 7th and 8th rank, right? And for me, this is kind of comfortable. I'm even thinking of ideas of g4 and trying to bust through here. Anyway, there is actually a much better move for black here, and I think it's in this position. I've had a quick look at the analysis, And actually, I think what he could have done here is capture on e4. Now, this is not an easy to find thing, but notice, right, what is the situation? Well, we've got a pawn here. It's defended only by the bishop, right? And if the bishop then ends up on this square, the bishop itself is undefended. So knight takes, bishop takes, rook e8, pinning the bishop, right? And then what can we do? Right, the threat is he's going to advance a pawn, either f5 or d5, attack the pinned piece, and there ain't nothing I can do. Remember, the bishop's undefended also, so the bishop is actually under attack. So if I just move the king out to break the thing, I've lost the pawn, basically. And I've lost a very useful bishop because I've got this dark squared pawn chain. My bishop's pointing now up towards a good area of the board. So this would have been good. Right, let's say I break the pin with a knight, I think is the best move. Takes, if I take, takes again, and again he's really threatening to open things up, bring the queen into the game. That would have been a completely different scenario. He didn't do that. He played the more defensive king h7. I develop my knight now. I'm very conscious that my queen's knight is standing there with its thumb up its bum, right? The queen's in the way because of this battery idea. And so this knight is just having to stamp its feet and go and wait for its turn. Now, so I developed this knight to f3. And still the general idea is this. And I don't even know if I'm going to castle. Now, again, I think Matt is just better here. He plays knight h5. Funny looking move. It's going on the edge. Now he's attacking my bishop, right? I do not want to lose my bishop. I drop my bishop down to e3, appreciating that he could come in with knight g3 hitting my rook. I immediately play rook g1. Just add a flyby by the fly. Immediate play, well, there's no other option there. It's rook h2 or g1. And now, actually, again, he's in a very strong position. So now I can't castle kingside. Okay, now I can't remember what move he should play here. It may be f5. Also notice his bishop is quite bad. So his bishop can't go there because pawn takes, can't go there because pawn takes. So this bishop's not great, and this bishop is... Now, the problem with this move is I then spot that his knight only has one square, right? Because he's removed that escape. Now, if I attack this knight, he can't go there because rook takes, can't go there because rook takes, can't go there because anything takes, can't go there because bishop, can't go there because pawn, so he's only got one escape square. Right, so let's attack the knight. And I considered king f2. I plumped for queen f2. Actually, king f2 is the best move here. And he thought for a bit, and I think, you know, he realised, oh, shit, my knight's trapped. h5, g4. And it's good knight horse. And what's more, it's an important horse too. So he pushes g5, I take the knight, he comes in and grabs my bishop on h3, not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Now, queen g3, and can you see now how all of a sudden, particularly, I mean, this is another issue with moving his king, it was on from g8 to h7. He's moved his king in line with this bishop here as well. So you've got to be a bit careful there. So I'm moving, my queen's now out of the way, because she's gone there, meaning that my knight could come to b2. I'd like to play knight b to d2 at some point, but things are starting to look interesting. And notice now, because of this, I have the threat of a discovered check, which I can unleash at any point in time. I sit there for a long time with this discovered check in my pocket. We have queen d7. I play knight b d2, preparing to long castle. And we have pawn to g4. Right, I was kind of ready for this. I was kind of expecting this. It's buddying up with the bishop, generally a useful thing, but this bishop has no scope. I mean, what's it looking at? It's looking at nothing, right? All I need to do is get my king out of the way. So knight h4 anyway. Knight h4, and now I've got lots of ideas about throwing the knight in and stuff like this. And Matt now plays a good move, knight e7. This knight was a pain for me for quite a long time. Just threatening to challenge me here. So if my knight comes in, he takes, pawn takes, king takes. Maybe we're okay. Maybe we're okay. So I long castle now. I'm just keeping my cool. I'm trying to use my time well. I'm trying to consider every move. And his king retreats now to get out of the discovery. Okay. And now I see a potential tactic that could win a pawn. Okay. And so pause and see if you can find it. Just look at the patterns on the board, look at the alignment issues, stuff like that. See if you can find it, and I will give you a couple of clues. Okay, so the pawn we're trying to win is the pawn on h6. Okay, so what's the pawn on h6 defended by? Well, it's defended by this bishop on g7. Okay, now this bishop on g7 is almost in an absolute pin, but it ain't because of this pawn on g4. What's this pawn on g4 doing? Okay, it's defending the bishop on h3. So you take all those moving parts, you put them together, and you may come up with an idea. So my first thought was rook h1, take out the bishop, pawn takes, bishop can then take for free because the bishop will be pinned and therefore is not defending the pawn, right? Matt now, I think, lashes out a little bit with a5, which I think was a bit of a bluff. But, you know, maybe he'll comment, I don't know. He's thinking the walls are starting to close in here. I need to show some bravado and whatever. So now comes the point, okay? Now, what I play is bishop takes h6. So I was watching a Naroditsky video earlier on that day, and one of the things he said was, when you find a two-move combo, look at it both ways round, right? And I thought, well, from here, why sack the exchange and free up this pawn in order to do that, right? Isn't it better to take the pawn? If bishop takes, then I get this for free, and he can't take the rook because he's in a pin, absolute pin. So I capture on h6. Matt has a good think, takes, and then I take back immediately. And he actually said to me, nice move, right? The pawn's in an absolute pin, can't do anything. Cannot capture the rook. Now, then we have bishop g5, and you've got to remind yourselves of this. This is why I say it all the time. Make a note of absolutely everything that changed. So what's changed here? Okay, well, the bishop's on a defended square. It's attacking the knight. Yes. What else? The pawn is no longer pinned because the bishop's in the way. That means, therefore, the rook is en prise. The rook can now be captured by the pawn. Okay, very important. So I drop my rook back, rook h1. And now we have f5. Okay. And then this is the point in the game where suddenly, you know, all the pieces fall. I am a full piece up at this point. I capture with a knight. Knight takes knight, pawn takes, and now rook takes. I have a think for a bit, and instead of capturing the rook immediately with my bishop, I decide to take here, thinking this was sexy, right? So I take the pawn, thereby pinning the bishop. The bishop's now in an absolute pin. If the rook moves anywhere, I actually take the queen. Where's my red arrow, right? I take the queen, so that the rook's actually pinned. The bishop's pinned. The bishop can't move anywhere because it's in an absolute pin. So I'm thinking, oh, it's kind of a free pawn, okay? He doubles up his rooks, I grab. He recaptures with the rook. Obviously, I can't take the bishop because rook takes queen. Okay, but we are in a really dominant position now. I play rook h g1. Now, I did consider here, now Matt, I don't know if you saw this one, I was considering this move. Okay, now what is wrong with that move? I thought about it, I thought, well look, the rook's pinned, right? The rook's pinned. Now, if you saw my thing on pins yesterday, you've got to be very careful with pins. Pins can also sometimes turn into discoveries. Didn't go over that on yesterday's kind of masterclass video. But the problem is here, rook takes rook with check. And on the next move, my queen falls. So you've always got to be careful, pins can sometimes backfire. So I didn't do that, I played rook h to g1 instead. Now piling up more pressure against this bishop, okay. We have queen f7. And now I just want to get out, I want to get my king off the back rank. I don't want to fall for any of those kind of shenanigans. Notice that my knight guards this, but that wouldn't have helped me earlier on. If I had played rook fd1, right, takes, doesn't matter. Yes, I can get the rook back. Oh no, I can't. Actually, my knight's in a pin. Even though the bishop itself is in an absolute pin, it's also maintaining that pin on my knight. So we play this, I lift the king up. Thought about king b1, and I thought about king c2. I'm kind of expecting this move to come at some point if the bishop gets out of its pin. But I just felt like my king could actually run around and run for the hills and use these pawns as a shield. I just felt better than playing king b1. The queen never drops here. You can get checkmated in that situation. So we have king h7. So now he's broken the pin on the bishop. Must remember those things. Okay. And now I slide the queen over to e5. Now putting the rook in an absolute pin, so the rook can't move. Right, and the rook, by the way, is the only defender of this bishop, which means I can maybe attack this bishop. Okay, we have king h6, now breaking again. Matt's very good at finding resources in horrible positions in my limited experience of playing the guy. So now rook df1, and I'm not worried about the trade here because, again, the knight is this, but there's no pin there anymore, so we're okay. He trades off, he grabs here, and that's almost the end of the game because I realise I have rook h1, pinning the queen, and black here resigns. So I've pulled it up. I've copied the PGN onto a chess.com analysis board, and look at this now. Okay, I played 75 accuracy. Matt played 72.7. It's really, really close. It didn't feel like that. It felt to both of us like I kind of steamrollered the game, but not according to the fish face, right? If we look at the ELO, 1550 for me, which is like my rapid rating, and 1350 for Matt. Okay, so let's go through particularly this opening bit and see what the machine says. So this is all book, right? Bishop d3 is a book move. This is a book move. That's excellent. All right, bishop fianchettos, c3 is excellent. Excellent is fine. h6 is actually the best move here. And dropping the bishop back, also best move. Castles, we have h3 from Hunty. Okay. This is not a mistake, but it's not the best move. And it wanted me to bring my knight to here. But knowing my kind of general plan, I didn't want to put my knight there because I wanted to reserve the right to play f4 and maybe even g4. And go for an absolute wall of offense here. So I play h3. We develops knight. Now f4 is a mistake. Now it's saying knight to e2. And I did consider actually having both of my knights here at one point, making an absolute turtle, right? Big phalanx there. So I play f4. It's a mistake, okay? e5, the only good move on the board. Queen d2 is an inaccuracy. Again, it says develop your bloody minor pieces, Hunty. What are you doing with your horses still in the box? But anyway. So now he's like minus 1.6. This is a good position for black with accurate play. He captures here, best, and then this is a mistake, right? This was like his big tactical shot to capture here, taking advantage of the fact that white isn't castled. But it has to be said, it's not the easiest move to find, to come up with an apparent sack in the opening phase of the game as well. So, yeah, you really, I mean, how many people guessed that one? I don't know. So king here, mistake. White is now slightly better. Okay? However, now I play knight f3, and it says, no, 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 no. Right? Now, he shouldn't have played this move. What should he have played? Still knight takes. There we go. Okay? Oops. So still knight takes here. If bishop takes, then it's going to be rook e8, yeah? Rook e8 is slightly better. Slightly better. And I have to give up material here. Or give back material anyway. But he's taken out a really important pawn in the form of this guy in the middle. Okay, but this is a miss. Computer says bishop h2 is actually much better. Well, put it this way, this one's much worse. But I kind of felt comfortable here. Great move. Black is -2 here. This is Black's best position in the game so far. Yeah. Yeah, this is his best position. I played rook g1, not the best move actually. What's it saying? Rook here? I don't know. It's running a bit slow. No, that's no better actually. That's no better. So I don't know what the best move was in that situation. Oh, it is rook g1. Okay. Fine. And now f6, and we know the problem with f6. Now, interestingly, the best move here is king f2, using the king to attack the knight. And I did think about it. I just thought, you know, we have these preconceptions, right? You've been taught, keep your king out of trouble. But the point is, there is a semi-open e-file, right? I didn't have to long castle in this game, right? So actually king f2, it's just over half a pawn difference, right? And knight f5 is a mistake. Was there a better move here? f5. I wonder if you considered f5. If f5 and I take the knight, he takes with a fork. Yeah. You can see, although I'm up material here, it's not the most comfortable position for white. But that takes seeing 4 moves in, you know, 4 moves ahead. So anyway, this, he retreats naturally, you know, but then this is the thing, if you know you're going to lose your knight anyway, you have to consider, well, is there actually anything less bad than retreating? And as it happens, this is now +4, and from this point in the game, it's just collapsed all the way. Okay, so we won't kind of flog a dead horse on that one, but I thought it was an interesting game. But it goes to show, you know, sometimes you get one shot, right? And I think the key is to look at the distinguishing features of the game. So I got a bit lucky, I think, coming out of that opening. But yeah, I thought it was an enjoyable game. Hope you've enjoyed watching it. Thanks for watching. See you later.